So, it's 2023 soon. We've got to get this game plan going. So in terms of all of my stats, the plan for my career stat is to add 1 year of experience to my resume, which is basically just work in the industry for another full year, which, unless I get fired, which I doubt it based on how this company's gone so far, then this will be easy to hit. More month-end tasks, so that's just generally as I progress in my role, the CFO will give me more to do. I predict this will happen pretty easily. This won't be a struggle to gain. Another pay rise. Now, I'm definitely going to get a pay rise, but it just depends on how much. I will do what I can to argue, obviously, the highest possible pay rise, but in my plan, I plan to get another pay rise, which I will, but there's a reason I haven't written an amount, is because I don't know what it'll be. Now, the more variable factors in this plan, finish CPA financial reporting. So that's my 5th out of my 6 CPA subjects. So currently I'm 4 out of 6, more than halfway, but this subject I'm currently studying for is an absolute nightmare. There is so much to know. Obviously, I have full intentions of passing this exam, which is why I've already started study for it, and I've already gotten a lot done for it, but there's no guarantee this will happen. However, it is part of the game plan. And if I manage to get this financial reporting plan sorted, my next one is to finish global strategy and management, or global strategy and leadership. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but that'll be my 6th and final CPA subject, which means I will be completely done with my mandatory career studies. After that, I may look at like more coding and shit like that, but that won't be for at least a year because I think I am well overdue for a break from formal study. Now, in terms of money, just to hit 6 figures earned overall, I very much doubt I will get the same amount of money I earned this year, simply because some of those paychecks involved annual leave. Now, the way the contracts work for both of my jobs is I actually get paid more when I'm on annual leave than I do when I'm actually working. So obviously having quite a number of weeks away on a holiday bumped up my pay higher than normal. And I've also had a pay cut from the supermarket because I've changed my Sunday shift. So there are a couple of hours that I don't work before 9 a.m. anymore, which is really high penalty rates. So I lose out on that money. In fact, I lose $1,101.88 for the year just by changing that shift. And I also had back pay from the supermarket, which was around, it was almost $5,000. It was like 4,700 and something. But there won't be any back pay in this upcoming year. So all of these factors combined lead me to believe that I won't earn as much this year. On top of that, I also worked like practically every single public holiday this year. I don't know if that opportunity will be present in this upcoming year, just because in the new store we've got a lot more staff, so the managers may be more inclined to ask them, especially because they're younger, so they're cheaper. If they ask me, I will take up that opportunity, but it's not guaranteed yet. And obviously public holiday rates will bump up your pay further, and it's extra shifts in general. So for all those reasons, I don't think I'll earn as much this year. I obviously will get a pay rise from the office gig, but I doubt it'll be anywhere near enough to offset all of these money losses that I'll be taking. Now, I could potentially get a pay rise at the supermarket too. I saw something not too long ago at the time of recording on my sort of, I guess, supermarket work app. It's kind of complex, but it's not important for the context of this video, but it seemed my supermarket was negotiating another agreement. Now, these agreements are disguised to benefit us workers, but they ultimately hinder us and benefit the big corporation. But sometimes we can actually end up with pay rises, or at least if you're me, like for example, they may cut the base level of pay, but they'll drastically spike up penalty rates or some shit like that. And because I only work penalty rates, weekends or maybe nights, I don't work, 9 to 5 at the supermarket, this may benefit me. Or entities like the Australian government may step in and say, hey, you need to give a pay rise to all the minimum wage workers, which is exactly what happened in 2022. So we may get the same thing this upcoming year. I'm not banking on it, but it is a possibility. So the defense stat, pretty much just, again, I've mentioned this in other videos, but essentially this is, I guess it's intertwined with both of my jobs. It's basically how skilled you are and how irreplaceable you are in the job market, but this gets covered with study and both of my jobs, which are in high demand careers and very stable careers at that. So, you know, we'll move on. So aesthetics, I'm going to run more of an abs specialized routine until around March. So I'm currently through a cut. It is going well despite all the Christmas hiccups. Like there's obviously so much junk you've had to eat. I reckon by the end of Jan, I might be around 80 kilos. It'll take me all of February to get maybe down to 79 or at the very least hold my weight throughout February. Now, there's not as much science to this, but if you hold your body weight at like a lean enough level, you will start to actually look better despite being the same weight. Some people have called it a body recomp, but to me, a body recomp is more so for like, I guess, skinny fat people or people who haven't trained at the gym in ages. But regardless, it's this concept where you basically just maintain or main gain or whatever. So I may do that around February/March and then switch up the routine from there. But obviously because I'm cutting, I may as well specialize on ab training. And the reason I'm going to do specialized training rather than just an all-round training routine is because for the last 2 years since I started working 7 days a week, I've done that sort of training routine much the same way I did in my uni days. And obviously, I grew a lot in my uni days due to that. But anyone who's been a uni, it's a lot easier to train and recover from the gym when you're not working anywhere near as much as I am now. And I haven't really noticed a heap of gains throughout these last 2 years. And it's essentially probably because I'm not doing enough volume for each muscle group to properly grow it, because I simply can't. Because not only am I exhausted, but I have other priorities in my life. Example, the 3 weeks before an exam, I will just stop going to the gym at all. That happens twice a year. You have a holiday pop up. You have a few social events that eat into your gym schedule. There's quite a few missed gym sessions throughout the year, which hinders the amount of volume you do overall. But with that said, to maintain the current muscles you have, you don't really need that much volume. You need maybe it takes you maybe like a third of the volume it took you to grow that muscle to maintain it. So what I will do is I will put a few muscle groups on maintenance mode while I increase the volume of other muscle groups. We will see how that pans out. I've known of this concept for years and years now, but I've never really had to implement it because through uni, you could just grow because your recovery was well enough. And then the last 2 years, I was just trying to grow all around, but I think I've had more than enough time in the gym with my current lifestyle to show me that, like, there's enough evidence to show that I probably won't grow if I keep this current sort of all-around routine going on. So specialization it is. And arms will be the next focus when I go back to bulking, because when I'm lean, my back and my pecs and my torso in general looks pretty good. My quads are decently sized, but I'm not after massive tree trunks or anything. Like my hamstrings and glutes are in the same boat. But my arms are just really lacking, so it's about damn time they had some specialization to them. And plus, arm training is a lot less fatiguing than a lot of the other compound movements that you need for your legs and your chest and your back, which means I won't be as sort of worn down all the time from all the work and study and shit that I do. So that'll be great for this year because obviously, ideally, it's the last year of my CPA studies, so it'll probably be the toughest year for a long time. Not saying the other years won't be tough and a grind, but if you don't have study, it frees up so much more time. There's more time for your online brand, or hell, there's a lot more time for me to be a lazy piece of shit if I so feel like it. Which I won't. And then July to October, I'll probably go on a chest and back focused, or maybe just a strictly chest or strictly back focused sort of routine. I will, get legs as a priority in the future, but I just need to test that this sort of specialization training works before I try it on my legs. Like, I'm not about to squat 3 times a week to find out that this specialization thing doesn't work for me. Like, I'm not putting all that energy and time into squatting a lot and doing a lot of leg extensions and super fatiguing exercises just to find out that no matter if I specialize or not, I'm just too worn down to grow, which I don't think I am, but I'll need anecdotal evidence before I can make a definitive conclusion on that. So that's the plan for aesthetics, at least. In terms of diet, just same shit, I've got that pretty down packed. So for the investor stat, better understanding in general, there's nothing too specific I need to hone in on. I need to find an options trading platform. At the moment, I just do like leverage shorts, which is the extent of my sophisticated investing strategy. But if I started playing with options, that would really broaden my horizons. The problem is I didn't think there was any available here in Australia, but my friend seems to think that some big dogs in Melbourne do options trading. So if I can find what they use, then I'll just use that and then start trading options from there. Bring stock portfolio back up above 15k. So long story short, I nuked my portfolio because I'm an idiot. I basically got greedy and angry over a couple of days. Essentially, one day was the difference between me losing $4,000 and making $4,000, but it is what it is. And this will essentially be more of a back burner this year. It'll still be like a focus of some sort, but most of my focus is going to be towards my studies and gym, which is why this is a more modest goal. So in terms of real estate, get loan approved for land. So at this rate, the land that I have bought will probably title, so I'll need a loan approved for that. I'm pretty sure I'll get it, but that's not set in stone. So I'll need to do some manipulations with my bank account, like change my spending habits a little bit. Like they're good, but for example, if the bank sees that I'm spending a couple of $100 on laser this week and then a couple hundred on Botox here, and then there's another $150 purchase for minoxidil, the bank's going to be like, oh shit, you spend a lot on cosmetics and shit. You're probably not a very reliable person to loan to. So what I may do in advance is pay for laser sessions up front. Maybe like, I don't know, have to hold off on Botox or something, or maybe just literally withdraw cash in the months prior and pay with cash when it comes time to do the Botox, or maybe like bulk buy minoxidil in advance or some shit like that. So I'll have to do that around the time that I need loan approved for my land. And then potentially look at a builder, but this may be a 2024 objective. We shall see. Too early to tell, obviously, but it's part of the game plan overall. We can always push it to 2024 if need be. So for the online brand, I just want 1,000 YouTube subs in 2023. That'd be pretty sick. Just hitting that nice 4 digits on something you've worked so hard on. I don't have like a set goal of a number of videos or anything like that because, as I mentioned before, gym and my studies will be like the primary focuses. They'll be my career as well, but like I do my set 40 hours there, and then what I do outside of that is just irrelevant to that particular job. If you work in a massive company, then obviously working extra hours outside of work does help you get ahead, but that's not how it works at my particular organization, which is fine because we all have our own journeys, and in exchange, I am bumping up other stats. But that's a topic for another day. I don't have a set number of videos planned. I will basically just upload when I get good ideas and when I get time. I reckon about 100 Twitter followers would be pretty good too. I've got like 46, 47 at the moment, and they're all just investing stuff. So if I keep just pumping out online brand stuff related to investing, that'll grow. And then just Instagram and TikTok growth, although I'm not going to be really too fussed for those. Last stat, mental health, same as always. Sometimes I negatively compare myself to others, but I've been pretty good with that lately. Like you see someone who's got more money than you, they're bigger than you, they have a better career than you, just shit like that. We're all in our own paths. It's okay. You can't be the best at everything. There's a reason I go by the diversified grind mantra, because there's always someone better than you. You may as well be better than them at something else. So if you spread yourself across a few things, then chances are there'll be something that you're better at than they are. Or if they're better at you than absolutely everything you do, kudos to them. Now you've got someone to look up to. Now you've got someone to learn from. Now you've got something to strive towards. So here are just some, random numbers I put in focus for the year. It's basically like, how much could I optimize each of these stats in this year? There's no real rhyme or reason to these numbers. It's just basically just showing where I guess my priorities are. I know I said gym and studies were my priority for this year, so why aren't they 10 out of 10? Well, in terms of my career, I could always switch to, I guess, a more prestigious role, but I'm not going to do that. So the career stat can't be completely maximized this year. I could gun for the highest grade possible in my studies. You won't get anything for it. You don't get any special treatment for it in this industry. Like, no employer looks at your CPA exam results. They look, do you have your CPA? Are you studying it? Or do you not study it? That's all they look at. None of them look at your grades. So you see it on LinkedIn, yeah, it's impressive, but the time trade-off for getting HDs on everything probably wasn't worth all those gym sessions you skipped, or all that extra work you could have done on a side hustle, or all that time you could have spent listening to the stock market related stuff instead of lectures, but to each their own. But that's one reason why all these stats aren't, 10 out of 10. Like money, for example, like I said before, if I wanted to absolutely maximize this, I'd be picking up night shifts all the time at the supermarket and pleading the managers in advance to put me on the public holidays. That's how I could maximize that stat. But I won't do that, so that's why that isn't 10 out of 10. Defense is pretty high because working in a supermarket and in accounting, it's extremely stable stuff. It's not 10 out of 10 because if I worked as a nurse and a teacher, impossible. But if I did that, then defense would be 10 out of 10. But, like I've said before, this is just some random numbers I've chucked out. Aesthetics, 7 out of 10. So yeah, gym's a priority this year, but I will take time off gym to study for exams. So that can't be, a 10 out of 10 focus now, can it? Investor, I'll continue just listening to stuff as I'm driving, as I'm working, as I'm cooking dinner. But there may be some times where I listen to CPA lectures instead, so that's why that investor isn't as high as the others. Online brand, as I said, because gym and studies are the focus for this year, I'm not going to be ditching some certain gym sessions here and there just to make sure I get the video done in this particular time frame, or tonight I got some spare time, I'm not going to study, I'm going to work on a video instead. Stuff like that, which is why that stat is a little bit on the lower side. But make no mistake, it's still a priority of mine, but this year especially with CPA and with needing to save up a lot of money for my land, this has to be on the back burner. And what I mean by that is, if I wanted to maximize the online brand, I could always just hire a video editor for every single video and take a lot of shifts off work, or even drop down a casual or something at the supermarket so I could spend more time on videos. But that would hinder money and the investor stat because I need that money for my land, so I'm not going to do that. So I hope that makes sense why online brand is just 3 out of 10. Like I said, they're just random numbers. And then mental health, 9.9 out of 10. You can never really be fully content and happy, can you? But I'm pretty well off. No complaints there. So here's a little routine, like an updated sort of routine for this year. Anything in purple is like time that's not specifically dedicated to leveling up one of the stats. It includes like, your morning routine or whatever. Like, yeah, when I wake up, I weigh myself, which helps me keep on track with aesthetics. While I'm having a shower, I use a moisturizer cream on my face and a body wash to keep my skin all nice. And then while I'm doing that, I'm also listening to investing stuff on YouTube. So that, I guess, bumps up aesthetics and investor at the same time while I'm having a shower. And then after the shower, I'll continue to listen while I put on face cream, brush my teeth, shit like that. So I guess you could argue they're all leveling up those stats, but they're not like a specific gym session, or it's not like I'm making any particular trades on that stuff, you know what I mean? You'll note that there's 5 gym sessions there, my standard Tuesday to Thursday and then Saturday night. With the Sunday routine, lately I've been going to the gym in my home gym just for an hour, just doing a really quick session there. I found it's working out really well. I just sleep in, I just sort of relax in the morning a bit, then I get up, get ready, and then just put on gym gear and go to the gym, work out for an hour, walk around in the sun for a bit, have a shower, cook breakfast, do some study for an hour, and then go to work. So I found that's working out really well so far, but I'm not going to cut out one of my other gym routines and replace it with that. So it looks like we're going to have 5 gym sessions a week going forward, which is again why gym is like, I guess, more of a focus on this year. if I'd cut out this gym time and replace it with working on the online brand, then the aesthetic stat would be a bit lower, online brand stat a bit higher. You will see a lot more, I guess, slots for the online brand in this sort of schedule. The reason is it's easy for me to listen to some audio while I'm eating dinner and then find spots I can cut out, or listen to it while I'm eating and cut it out, or make an Instagram or Twitter post while I'm eating dinner, rather than trying to study with my notes out and shit like that. It's a lot more convenient, and it's easier to work on the online brand after a gym session than it is to work on study after a gym session, because like I said, dinner just makes it a little bit complicated. So that's why there's more slots for online brand there. Simply listening to a lecture, it can help, but it's just, if you've listened to a CPA lecture before, it's not one of those things you can just listen to and absorb info from. Sometimes it works, but because there's so many of those lectures, unless you want to listen to all of them all at the same time, it's just not as efficient as dedicating set time to listen and take notes on that lecture, if that makes sense. And obviously this will change as we get closer to the exam. For example, a few gym sessions will be ditched and all that online brand stuff will be changed to study, but because I am still 4 months out from the exam at the time of recording, this is what my schedule will look like for a couple of months at least. And here's just some little pie chart of all the hours I'll spend on everything here. So you notice the investor stat is not applicable. There's no real time in the day that I dedicate specifically just to the investor stat. Like, I'll be listening to it when I'm driving, but that's my driving time, not my investor time. I'll listen to it when I'm at work, but obviously I'm at work for my career and money. I'm not there to sit there and listen to investing stuff, you know what I mean? And then when I'm at the gym, I'm not listening to investor stuff anyway, but when I'm at the gym, that's my dedicated gym time. When I'm studying for my CPA, I'm not also listening to an investing lecture, or I'm not also listening to the stock market, you know. And then when I'm listening to audio to edit a video, or when I'm making Twitter posts or anything, yeah, I may be listening to the investor stat then, but that's my dedicated online brand time. It's not just investing. I hope that makes sense, but there's essentially no blocked off periods of time for this investor stat. Even if I am just listening to it, chances are I'll flip some of that into a Twitter or Instagram post, which grows those social media accounts. So to finish off the video, I'm just going to run through my plan for the year in certain blocks. These may change, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure these will stay the same, because I've had 2 years of basically doing this whole routine I'm on now, and I got a pretty good grasp of what's going to happen. So between January and March, the priority will be for the CPA studies and the aesthetic stat. So as I mentioned before, it'll be an ab focus program. So money being on the back burner, that's like, I'm not going to freak out if I don't get public holiday shifts, which would obviously help the money stat a lot more. Instead, I will use that time to study or something. And like, I won't be taking extra night shifts throughout this period, because that'll cut into gym sessions or study sessions. So that's why that is a quote back burner, despite the fact I'll still be working 7 days a week. For the online brand, throughout this period of January to March 2023, there are 4 videos I really want to get out. One is investing pointless. So recently there's been some videos from Hamza, First Man, and Alex Hormozy that talk about investing in a different light to what I talk about. And I feel it's a good topic to piggyback off of, because they talk about investing in terms of like study in a business. They don't talk about the stock market, but then you hear me talking a lot about the stock market, and then you're like, hey, well, who's right? I'll spoil it. It depends, and there's levels to it, but I'll go into that in that video that I want out before I go on my little mini month hiatus for my exam study. And then I want to go over office jobs and trade jobs. I've had that idea for a while now, and I've seen a lot more, I guess, anecdotal evidence and stuff lately that could go into that video. You see a lot of people say, oh, well, trades are useful and people don't want to sit in an office. And then you have some people say, oh, no, office jobs are better. I prefer it. It really depends, but we'll be talking about that a lot in that video. A lot of you guys who watch me watch First Man One video he said he recommended office jobs because of the fact that you get to just sit down in a nice cozy environment and it makes it easier to do other stuff on the side. He's very correct about that. But in terms of where I live in Australia, tradies get so many benefits from the government and shit, but is it worth it? We will be discussing that in that video. Another video I want to get at in this time is why Men's Maxing is the best self-improvement YouTuber out there. So he's pretty new on the scene, and there's quite a few things that I see in him that I haven't seen in any other of the self-improvement YouTubers, which I really want to get out in a video because I want to sort of get in while he's early rather than just look like some dick rider when he's got like 1,000, 100,000 subs or 1 million subs or anything like that. I want to get in early, so that's why I want that video out, well, early, because I don't want it out later in the year when he's got a lot more subs. And then last one is a stop comparing yourself to others. It's going to be a more sort of wholesome talking video. There's not going to be a lot of juicy tidbits, but there will be things like a lot of perspective in that video. So yeah, see people earn this, they're this ripped, they're that, and then you see yourself, you're like, oh, I'm nowhere near them. Well, put it into perspective. Stop comparing yourself to others. I see a lot of 6-figure salaries on the Fishbowl app, and I think, damn, like, yeah, I'm on 6 figures, but that's across 2 jobs. These guys are just across 1 job, and they're on a lot more than I am. Well, guess where they live? They live in Toronto, they live in New York, so of course they make a lot, because the cost of living in those areas are way higher than anywhere else, and especially where I live. So in comparison, yeah, I earn a lot less, but if you're talking about purchasing power for that area, I may even be in a better position than they are. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? But stop comparing yourself to others. I want to make that video ASAP. So in April, that'll be during my 5th CPA exam. The priority is obviously the CPA exam. Money will be on the back burner because I'll still be working quite a few shifts. I'll take some off, but it's not like I'll take the whole half month off to study, you know what I mean? I'll still be earning money. And then aesthetics, I might do a few gym sessions around the couple of weeks before the exam, but probably not. So that might be nil. Investor, back burner / nil. I may still listen to some stuff when I'm driving, but I'm not really going to be doing much in terms of that. So that's why that's back burner / nil, like the aesthetic stat. Online brand will be completely nil, although I may make some Instagram posts and shit, but I won't be making any videos. May to July, after that CPA exam is done, career will be on the quote back burner. Obviously, I'll try at work and shit like that, but it'll just be my standard 40 hours. I won't have any CPA studies to do. I could always obviously study for the next subject, but you don't want to do this because if you do fail the unit, it's better to redo that unit, and then all that time you spent studying for that next subject you were going to do, you're going to forget all of that anyway. And even if you did notes and stuff, the course content may change, so you're better off just not doing any sort of study while you're waiting for the exam results to come out. So that's why that's on the back burner. By this time, I'll be bulking again, so I'll be in my arm focus program. Without the study, I'll have a lot more time to listen to extra little bits of investing stuff. And also, without study, I won't have to come home from work some nights to study. I can come home from work and work on the online brand. So that's why those 3 will be a priority during May to July. August to September, priority goes back to the CPA studies. Ideally, this will be my last unit. So obviously this can be a priority. I'll still be focusing on the gym a lot, especially because this will be an arm focus program. So chances are the workouts are going to be shorter and they're definitely going to be less like fatiguing overall than what my usual routine is like. And then at this time, I reckon my land will be about ready. So I'll need to be doing everything I can to ensure that I get that loan. So that'll also be a priority. It'll be a pretty hectic few months. Well, couple of months. October, this will be the month of my last, ideally my last CPA exam. And obviously the priority will be that. And same deal with April, everything else will be on the back burner / it'll have no work into it. And to cap off the year, ideally this will be a little victory lap. I will have passed my CPA exam and I'll be able to just relax, knowing that all those years of study have accumulated to this point in time and I'm done. So at this point, my aesthetics focus will be on chest and back, ideally. I know I said earlier in the video that I may focus on this a bit earlier in the year, but like, who knows? The point is, after my arm focus sort of specialization program, I'll shift to this. Ideally, I won't have gained as much body fat, so that's why I'm really dedicated to this cut. Hopefully it's the last real big cut I'll need to do, and then I'll just stay pretty lean going forward. Like in 2021, I got a bit lax because, yeah, look at how much money I'm making. I don't need to be ripped because I'm rich and I'm going well with my career and I'm got my studies and shit like that. So it made me a bit soft. And then in 2022, I was a little bit more strict, but because I didn't do a proper cut in 2021, I was still carrying all the fat from that year into this year. So ideally, I'm going to flush it all out with this current cut I'm doing, and then I won't need to cut in summer of 2022. Because obviously the less time you spend in a calorie surplus or bulking, the worse. So that's why ideally this won't be an ab focused program again, because ideally I won't have to be cutting at this point. And for the investor stat, if I haven't really grasped the bond market by this point, I'll really focus on it now because I'll be done with studies, so I can focus on that. And then I'll look at other foreign market trades like the Hong Kong stock market and shit like that. And then because I'll be done with studies, I'll have a lot more time for the online brand too. So those will be the priorities. So that's my plan for 2023. I don't know exactly how it'll fold out, but I do know one thing for sure. By the end of the year, all of my stats will be leveled up again. I'm going to do my best to make sure it's a great year. And for you guys out there, I hope it's a great year for you too. Hopefully my videos and my brand can help you progress along your journey in life, and together we can all become better. Let's crush it. Let's own 2023.